From South Florida, I'm Dave.
And here in Dallas, I am Q.
And today we're going to talk about backlog items to help you, your team, your company with better ways of working. So Q, how do we set up backlog items?
Well, I think a lot of people complicate this stuff, right? First of all, they think, I wouldn't say everybody, but a great number of people think that a backlog item is a user story. And I have news for you. There's a lot of other stuff can be in the backlog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why this obsession with user stories. We just recorded another episode and then we decided to actually talk about this because otherwise the other episode would end up an hour long, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't get the obsession with user stories. I think it was a great idea to start with, but I mean, since the beginning, and I've been teaching this for a while, I never use this format that everybody is obsessed with because one, I think is too verbose. What I really want from a backlog item, and I don't care what the backlog item is called, is who wants it, what they want it, and the why they want it. And the reason I need to know these three things is because then I can prioritize. Not only can prioritize, I can estimate that this is a week's work, or it's a month's work, it's a year's work. And again, I'm not going to start with stupid wording here. Epic, feature, initiative. Honestly, that's all irrelevant. What is relevant to me is you have stuff to do. You have to figure out who wants it, what they want it, why they want it, and then you have to figure out how long it's going to take to the best of your abilities. It may take one team, it may take 10 teams to do it. That's what I need on a backlog item. What you call it, what format is it? I don't really care. It's the same. I don't know why I need something to tell me that an epic is going to be a year long, a feature is going to be 3 months long. That's not relevant. What's relevant to me is I need to get something done that creates a business outcome. And I need to be able to split that thing in chunks of work that can be worked by one team or multiple teams over a period of time. Why do I have to label it? Just because some tool said that, well, we have these initiatives, epics, and features, and stories, and etc. So did we forget the Agile Manifesto? People and iterations over process and tools. So what we're doing is tools over people and iterations. Because the tools that we have to call this way.
Yeah. So I agree with you, but I take a little different twist on this. So what is a backlog? I like to think of it as a wish list of what your customer wants. I find it interesting that new people that start writing stories will put things into a backlog. Like, as a database developer, I need a database diagram so that I can deliver what the customer wants. That is your wish list as a developer. That is not the customer's. The customer doesn't ask for a database ER diagram or anything. The customer is asking for, I need an e-commerce system, or, I need something else. So the backlog should reflect what the customer wants. Therefore, user stories are an appropriate way to do that. I've also learned over the years, there are other ways to do it. There's job stories based on jobs to be done, if you're familiar with that approach. It's a different format. I'm going to put a link if you want to read more about it, because I probably won't describe it in a short amount of time properly here. And I like your format too. I kind of use that sometimes as well. Like, what is it? Who is this for? And why is this important? And so whatever format you use, I think the intent or the why has to be super clear. So the team that picks up that item understands, oh, this is how it ties into the bigger picture. While I agree with you as well in that we are creating, or we're using agile management tools that are structuring things in what might seem a rigid way, this kind of leads to the roadmap discussion, and then maybe this should be another video. Like, how do we provide a roadmap that shows stakeholders and customers down the road, years, where we're going? I think there's some traps there as well, because in Agile, we might want to pivot and the roadmap is going to change, but maybe that's another discussion. So I think every team has to identify and think beyond the standard of a user story template, what's going to work for them.
Yes. And not only that, unfortunately, a very bad habit. In my opinion, you may disagree with me. People, after these tools came up, they write books on the description of a backlog item, whatever you want to call it, whatever kind of backlog item you want to label it. And they replace that book they just wrote instead of the conversation. And that leads to overestimation because somebody wrote 3 pages in there. Guess what I'm going to think when I'm thinking about size? Oh my God, this must be huge. Look how much stuff they wrote in here. Number one. Number two, it cuts down the conversation because it said, well, I think they capture everything in there. What am I going to ask? Bad idea. And because it cuts on the conversation, it's going to mess up the confirmation. So again, we are being enslaved by the tools, and we keep forgetting that. We are there to provide a business outcome. There are things that we need to do to provide this business outcome. The tool is not one of them.
Yeah,
Tool vendors just want to make money out of you. If they make it so complicated that you invest so much money learning it, you are not going to move away from their tools, regardless if they have severe security concerns. And I'm not going to say names, but you can look up on the web. So the thing is, we need to get more realistic in understanding what the customer, the client, the stakeholder, or whatever wants. We need to have conversations on how to split that work in chunks that we can work on. And then we have to confirm that we are on the same page, we all understand, and etc. The tool may give you some good data. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the important part is understand outcome and have the conversation to understand what's the best way to approach it, to get it done and get to that outcome. So let's not lose perspective. We have a business to do. Our business to make a company sustainable, meaning profitable. And that only comes with positive outcomes. Let's not get trapped by the user story format, what the tool vendor does, and etc. Because then we're actually going to create a lot of waste. And unfortunately, we often do.
I think one of the things that we teach is that a backlog item is a placeholder for a conversation. And I love what Jeff Patton says in his user story mapping book. You think of it like a vacation photo. It should be enough detail, you can tell that I went to the beach. You can tell that it was a sunny day. But unless we have a conversation, looking at that vacation photo, you don't know all the details. So the conversation is very important. And I think sometimes, especially with newer teams, they kind of fall into this tool trap that you're talking about. And the tool becomes the kiosk at the Panera for capturing your order. Like, we are working on complex things that may have never been done before. We need to have the conversations that go with the backlog items. You can use the tool to capture what was agreed to, what was discussed, attach files, certainly. But in the end, unless you have the conversations, you may walk away or you may look at something and think we're all aligned when you're really not. And then you will find out in a sprint or two that you're not, and you have wasted time. And look, I'm a technical engineer type person, right? When I take the Myers-Briggs, I'm down the middle on introvert, extrovert. Like, some days I just don't want to talk to people. So it's hard for me. But the more I've been doing this, the more I realize the conversations are gold. And one of the most important things that a team can do.
Absolutely. Think
All
that's
right,
good
so
for this one.
Yep, I think we're good here. What do you think, folks? Let us know. We read your comments. We even use them to give us new ideas for content. So don't be shy. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.